The 11th Extraordinary Summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our Americas People's Trade Treaty, ALBA-TCP, ended in Caracas, Venezuela. Sudan marks 500 days of war, one of the worst crises in the continent that appears to be also the most forgotten. Citizens in Bethlehem and Tulkarm governorates occupied West Bank carried out a general strike following the killing of more than 5 Palestinians in Gaza by Israeli forces. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The countries of ALBA-TCP, the Bolivarian Alternative for the Peoples of Our Americas, ratified their support to Nicolás Maduro as re-elected president and condemned the non-recognition of the results by some governments that joined the fraud narrative of the far right. The report with Madeleine Garcia.
An extraordinary summit at a decisive moment for peace in Venezuela. That is what the meeting of the ALBA-TCP member countries was all about, to raise their voices in support of the re-election of President Nicolás Maduro, after the attempted coup d'etat at the disavowal of his triumph by some governments.
The will of the majority must be respected. The Venezuelan people voted with full conscience in favor of dignity, their sovereignty, and for peace, and have supported that vote with massive popular demonstrations in the streets all over Venezuela. Although those facts, as Maduro explained, have been silenced or diminished by biased reports, openly pro-opposition, by the Western media that serve the empire.
They condemned the interference of the United States and its allies and the same failed script that for more than 2 decades they have applied against Venezuela to destabilize the country.
In the case of Venezuela, there is a class in the United States that is interested in appropriating the resources of Venezuela, such as oil. And this has happened not only in Venezuela, but also in Latin America and the Caribbean. We still have to exorcise those forces of politics, those forces of the United States.
Esas fuerzas de los Estados Unidos.
Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega asked Brazilian President Lula for respect and also spoke clearly to the Colombian president.
If you want me to respect you, respect me, Lula. If you want the Bolivarian people to respect you, respect the victory of President Nicolás Maduro. And don't go there as a drag. To Petro. What can I say to Petro? Poor Petro. I see him competing with Lula to see who will be the next representative of the Yankees in Latin America.
President Nicolás Maduro reiterated his denunciation of the attempted coup d'etat and warned of the resurgence of fascism worldwide, but 2.0.
Today, it is very clear that there is a resurgence and a resurgence of fascism, which some call neo-fascism. Okay, neo-fascism. But there is no doubt that it is reinforced with the strength of the hatred, of surrender and the destruction of the national state and social rights, and the recolonization and surrender of our country to the empire of the United States of America. There is no doubt today that in Europe, in South America, in the United States of America, there is a powerful resurgence of fascism.
The Venezuelan president said that Venezuela is preparing for a mega election in 2025 to renew local governments, and deputies who have disregarded the constitution and laws may not be able to participate.
A no sufrir la injerencia en los asuntos internos.
The summit closed with a final declaration condemning interference, violence, the attempted coup d'etat, fascism, and expressing solidarity with the Venezuelan people, the re-election of President Nicolás Maduro, and ratifying Latin America and the Caribbean as a territory of peace.
teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela. In Venezuela, the communes went to their second national consultation last Sunday, August 25th. Although the date was crucial, the work of these social structures is daily and constant. Our correspondent, Gladys Quesada, tells us more.
This is the community center and base of missions in Negro Luis Villafania. Here converge 14 community councils to which the facility offers a space for healthcare, a community dining room, but also for timely debate and solutions to collective problems. These days, in its halls, a martial arts practice is taking place. Its instructor attests to how his endeavor materialized.
Yo llegué aquí a hablar con la comuna.
I came here to talk to the commune, not with the parents, but I already talked to the commune. Then they saw that they put up my posters, and through the posters they came here, and little by little they found out that they were going to give classes here. And here we are, little by little with the girls. We have been here for 3 months now.
From the popular consultation of Sunday 25th, these communes elected a project for the improvement of the distribution of the liquefied gas. Thus, they will make the distribution of the fuel more expeditious, creating delivery routes and a functional calendar for those who work or study. Meanwhile, in the Amalivaca Community Center, gas cylinders are being changed. Here are the deteriorated ones, while everyone takes home a new one. Frederick tells us how he found out.
Through our street leader, what are the community councils called? My work. They are doing something, and well, we took the word and we went to the call.
He also came to vote on Sunday with a clear idea.
It's like everything you don't do, someone else will come and do it for you. So the saying goes that if you want something to go well, you have to do it yourself. And this is the opportunity, you have to participate, and you have to do it.
At the end of the day, in this endogenous center of Sarria, street leaders responsible for their communes and their functioning meet to discuss the results of the second popular consultation. Barely 24 hours later, here they ponder the errors, look for strategies, and leave a record of the experience. Yes, with the premise that commune is all of them.
Yes, we are evaluating projects, this one directly from. We schedule fairs for the benefit of the communities. We see them in Europe. We also plan them in December or in other seasons. We plan different commercial activities. People come, and then there are people who sell their sweets, sell their things, and we do have them. And we are raising proposals for new projects for improvement.
This is the day of life and work of 3 different community centers that bring together neighborhoods, look for solutions, or as they popularly say, they solve it. Gladys Quesada, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
In the news, the Colombian military has dismantled a mega laboratory for the processing of cocaine in Putumayo department bordering Ecuador. Authorities estimate the facility was capable of producing around 5 tons of the drug per month. The facility consisted of 8 structures where troops found 5,000 gallons of liquid precursors, chemicals, 1,000 kilos of solid inputs, and 200 kilos of pure cocaine, among other products. The army says the site could have accommodated over 12 people and was likely operated by a dissident FARC group. The country saw a nearly 13% increase in coca cultivation in 2022, reaching a record high of 230,000 hectares, according to the latest UN report. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Mexico, the Commission of Constitutional Points of the Chamber of Deputies approved on Monday their ruling on the reform of the Constitution regarding the judiciary. With 22 votes in favor and 17 against, the norm that would allow the election of judges, magistrates, and ministers by popular vote in 2025 was approved. The number of members of the Supreme Court of Justice is reduced from 11 to 9. At this time, the Commission is reviewing the 330 reservations and will extend the session into the early morning. Backers are ratified that the reform will contribute to put an end to nepotism, corruption, and waste, and reiterate that it will not affect workers' rights. The return to basic education classes in Mexico was widely celebrated by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who stressed that education is a right, not a privilege, as it was conceived in the period of neoliberal governments. Our colleague Antonio Aranda has the information.
In Mexico, more than 24 million preschool, elementary, and high school students return to school. The President of Mexico led a ceremony during his morning conference and pointed out that neoliberal governments conceived education as a privilege and not a right.
We have a very good relation with teachers, unlike what happened in the 6-year term prior to us, when teachers were mistreated because they wanted to impose the so-called educational reform, which was nothing more than continuing to privatizing education.
López Obrador recalled that during the government of former President Enrique Peña Nieto, teachers were blamed for the educational backwardness in the country and were persecuted.
Of the most vile things they carry out is to blame teachers for the educational backwardness of the country. Teachers and those who resisted were imprisoned.
162 million free textbooks were distributed to all students for this school year, informed the Minister of Public Education.
This year, for the 2024-2025 school year, 162 million textbooks were printed. All of them are already in basic education schools and are being distributed to secondary, preschool, and telesecondary schools.
The head of government of the country's capital city highlighted the policy of economic support to prevent students from dropping out of school.
There are educational social programs, such as support for school supplies, support for school uniforms, as well as a universal scholarship, the welfare scholarship for girls and boys that benefits 1,200,000 children enrolled in public preschooler, elementary, and secondary school.
Parents recognize that these supports help them with expenses.
The support that the government has given me for my child has helped me a lot because I cannot work due to my disability.
The government of Mexico will assign, in 2024 alone, a budget of more than $2,600 million to deliver the Benito Juarez Welfare Scholarships, which allows almost 6 million students in various grades to have constant support to avoid dropping out of school.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
Secretary General of the United Nations Antonio Guterres has issued a call for help to the world because of a rapid increase in the growth of the Pacific Ocean. He said this from Tonga, Oceania, where he presented an alarming report according to which the Pacific Islands, which generate less than 0.2% of annual global CO2 emissions, face a historic level threat. According to data collected by the World Meteorological Organization, maps show that in the last 30 years, the seas have risen by about 15 centimeters. Celeste Saulo, Secretary General of the scientific body, assured that the time to reverse the tide is running out and it is a matter of survival. In Sudan, the death toll rose to 132 after flooding caused by heavy rains. The Ministry of Health reported that the rainy season has affected 10 provinces of the country, the most affected being the northern province and the province of River Nilo. At the same time, it pointed out that more than 12,000 houses have already been completely destroyed by the downpours. In this sense, the situation of those displaced by the war has worsened, not only because of the armed problems, but also because of the climatic conditions. On Tuesday, Sudan in Northeast Africa marks 500 days of war, one of the worst crises in the continent that appears to be also the most forgotten. With nearly 12,000 wounded and 15.7 million children at risk of mental harm, the country is experiencing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis that is particularly hard on children. Fighting between the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese Armed Forces generated the largest crisis of displaced people in the world, which currently stands at 10 million. 1 in 5 people in the country is in this condition. And at the moment, malnutrition is on the rise, and hunger and sexual violence are at unprecedented levels. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Tuesday, citizens in the Bethlehem and Tulkarm governorates occupied West Bank carried out a general strike following the killing of more than 5 Palestinians in Gaza by Israeli forces. Israeli troops attacked Nur Shams, first with drones and then assaulted the area with military vehicles, while reconnaissance planes flew over the city at low altitude. During the attack, occupation forces killed 2 youth, aged 15 and 16. With the latest attacks, authorities reported 40,435 people killed to date since the Israeli genocide began last year. The Islamic Jihad also condemned the attacks and accused Israel of launching an open war against Palestinians. In Palestine, the new evacuation order issued by the Zionist government of Benjamin Netanyahu for Gaza forces United Nations humanitarian agencies to suspend operations in the enclave. The United Nations decided to halt the operations of its agencies in the Gaza Strip following the latest order to evacuate its facilities in Deir al-Balah, the last site where this international organization had to be located after several previous evacuation orders. Officials in charge of the security of these agencies reiterated that it is impossible to operate in such conditions. They assured that they were working to resume operations as soon as possible and reiterated that they will not withdraw from the Gaza Strip because the people needs them. On Monday, the foreign ministers of Iran and Qatar discussed a range of bilateral and regional issues, particularly the ongoing Israeli genocidal war in Gaza. This is the first official trip to Tehran by the top Qatari officials since the new Iranian administration took office in July. The visit comes as Iran has vowed to defend its absolute right to give a response to the Israeli regime's assassination in Tehran of Ismail Haniyeh, the head of the political bureau of the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas. The top Qatari diplomat's trip also takes place at a time when the latest rounds of peace talks between Israel and Hamas ended without an agreement, and tensions have escalated between Israel and the Lebanese resistance movement, Hezbollah. The 20th edition of the Under-20 World Athletic Championship will begin on Tuesday in the city of Lima, Peru.
This 2024 will be the 3rd time that this championship will be held in South America. 1,720 athletes under the age of 20 from 134 countries have been confirmed, making this the largest event ever held in the country. With a capacity of 7,500 spectators, the Vidina Athletic Stadium will be the venue for the competitions. The championship will be attended by international athletes who stood out in the last Olympic Games, such as South African Bradley Nkoana, Olympic medalist in Paris, who will compete in the 100 and 200 meters, as well as Jamaican Alana Reid, who helped her country reach the Olympic final in the 4x100 meters relay, now competing in the 100 meters.
In France, the Paralympic Games in Paris in 2024, the team of refugees will be made of a record number of 8 athletes.
With just 1 day to go before the start of the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games from August 28th to September 8th, the International Paralympic Committee has announced that T11 sprinter Guillaume Junior Atangana of Cameroon will be the flag bearer for the Paralympic refugee team at Wednesday's opening ceremony on the Champs-Élysées and Place de la Concorde. The 8 refugee athletes are Zakia Kudadati from Afghanistan, Ibrahim Al-Hussein from Syria, Salman Abariki from Iran, Hadi Darvish from Iran, Syed Amir Hossein Hosseini-Pour from Iran, Emilio Castro from Colombia, and Hadi Hassanzadeh from Afghanistan, who will compete in 6 sports: track and field, weightlifting, table tennis, taekwondo, triathlon, and wheelchair fencing.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.